This is Ed Robinson of Kensington College talking today about basic programming techniques in VBA, and we'll discuss first of all variables. A variable is something that we use to hold values, storage inside the computer program to hold numbers or text and so on. As far as naming variables is concerned, this is the name of a variable called sumX, for example, and so on. We can't have a 1 to start off our variable name, and we can't use a full stop in between. We can put an underscore at the front, but you can read further about the restrictions. Here's a simple variable x. It's going to hold integer values, and we'll show you how to make sure it only holds integer values in a moment. We can have other variables like surname, which will hold a bit of text, which is holding a string and a text, and text mean the same thing in programming in general. So what we'll do is take the bit of code here, which you can do this as well. I'm just going to copy this code from the manual and paste it into a spreadsheet. Now with my Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to make a button on the sheet. So if I go to my insert, if I go there, now there's a trap actually, because insert, we don't go to insert, there's another insert here, this one here, not this one here. So insert, and then we can put an ActiveX control button, not the form control, ActiveX. Place that on the spreadsheet and then double click on it, and that opens up our code window, the VBE, Visual Basic Editor. And I've showed you how you can go from one to the other. For example, within the spreadsheet, you can actually right click on here to view the code. You can press Alt F11, will take you to the code as well. What I tend to do is to bring the spreadsheet down so that we can just see as much as we want to, and then go to the VBE, Visual Basic Editor, and then I can see my code at the same time, which is rather nice. I'll just bring that window down a bit. Okay, so now I've got my, and I'm going to paste that code into here. Let's see what this code means. Dim x as integer. What that means is reserve enough space for this variable x, which is an integer. That is to say, it's going to hold only whole numbers. Then we say x equals 2, so we give the value of 2 to x, and that is stored in the computer program. Then finally we say range a1 value equals x. Can you see what that program is going to do? Well, I can take the design off. I'll take it off either here or here. So I'll take that off, and then if I press the button, you see it simply puts the value of 2 inside the cell A1, as we said, range A1. Now the most important thing about this here is this statement here, x equals 2. That really looks quite innocuous, but there's a lot going on really. What you're doing is placing the value of 2 into the cell x. Now it's working from right to left, it's putting that value into here. Think of that as being stored in the memory cell in the computer X. When you first come into programming, our experienced programmers look at that and wonder what I'm talking about. But for people who are coming new to program, there's more in that meets the eye. What we could do is to put in this bit of code, which is a key name. I can prove that because as I click away, it capitalizes it. Now you won't see this around, but it goes back a long time. Let x take on the value of 2, which really gives you the idea of the right to leftness of this. So it's an old-fashioned word really, keyword, and you can do without it, but I think you might like to include it just to get the idea that it works from right to let x take on the value of 2. Now look at this statement here. This is working from right to left. So when you say from right to left, it puts from the x, which is 2, it puts it into range A1, which is this cell over here. So that once again is working from right to left. What does the other stuff mean? Option explicit. Option explicit means we're going to check the spelling. Well, it's pretty hard to misspell x, but another variable name longer, you may well have some misspelling. You don't actually need it in here. In fact, I'll just delete it for the moment, but that means I won't have to have this as well. I'm going to explain a bit more in detail, but that is the basic part of the program. I'll explain about option explicit and declaring variables, which was the dim statement, later. But for the moment, that's the simple program to put the value of 2 into x, and thence the value of x will go into range A1. I'm going to put a breakpoint. Now a breakpoint means if I click here, it puts a blob. Some people say it's red, some people say it's brown, it's maroon. How about that? That's a compromise. So this maroon color thing gets put here. Now what happens when I press my button? By the way, don't try and run your code from here. You can actually run it if you click this button up here, the run button, and that will run the code, but it's not a good idea if you're not in the correct window. So to play safe, we'll run our code by clicking this button. So if I click that, you'll notice it stops at this position. Now I can put my mouse on the X. Maybe I'll just go back a bit. I'll put another breakpoint here, stop the program up here and start again. So as I click the button, you'll see that X is actually empty, got nothing in it at the moment. If I press the F8 key, you must remember F8. If you press F8, it takes the value of 2, which is here, and puts it into the X. Ready? I'll press F8, go. Now you see X has now taken on the value of 2. And this X here has got the value of 2. And so is this. Well, that's because there's something in there at the moment, and it's picking up on that. Look at that. I can do that while I'm still debugging halfway through. The code is running, but that's pretty cool. You can see now that it's actually empty. Very forgiving is Excel VBA. So you can do things while you're running your program, make additions. Very forgiving. So it's got the value of empty, and X has got the value of 2. Now watch what happens as I press F8. Ready, go. It now takes on the value of 2. You can see how it's being moved from right to left, and that's the end of the program. So I'll just click the reset button at the top. Also, just to emphasize this right to leftness, I'm going to put this statement in here: x equals x plus 1. Now goodness me, what does that mean? It's not mathematical. You're not trying to solve this equation, which you would do in mathematics, and I think the solution to that is x is infinity, which is a bit of a waste of time, but it is not mathematics. What this is doing, it's taking the value of x and then adding 1 to it, and taking the whole thing and moving it from right to left. So putting it from there into there. So what do you think the result is going to be up here in A1? You have a guess? I'm going to click the button. Ready, go. Well, I'm single stepping. I've got my breakpoint. I might as well just keep that going. I'll press F8, and X is empty, and now it's got the value of 2, and X has got the value of 2. Now what do you think the value of X is going to be? Let's find out. I'll press the F8 key. 3. So what it's done, it's taken the value of X, which is 2, added 1 to it, and moved it into the pigeonhole on the left, which is X equals 3. Now therefore, if this value is 3, then that ought to be placed into, as you can see, into cell A1.